Do you want to build a resume to apply to sales jobs? This is Kirat from Able Jobs, and the tips and tricks I give you in this video will help you get shortlisted in any sales job. After you build that perfect resume, the next step is preparing for that interview. That's where Able Jobs comes in. Download the Able Jobs app now to prepare for all kinds of sales, BPO, and marketing interviews. You can search for it on the App Store or find the link to download it in the description. The 6 most important sections of any resume are header, summary, past experience, education, skills, and finally personal information. We will be discussing each one in detail, and to boost your clarity even further, I will be taking example resumes to explain you. Let's start with the first section. The only 3 things that you mention in your header are your name, phone number, and your email address. Moving on to the next section, which is summary. Now this is where you grab the attention of the recruiter and convince him or her to stay on your resume. Do not write generic summaries because the objective of this section is to convince the recruiter that you are the perfect fit for this sales role. One common mistakes that I've seen a lot of people make is that they either make their summaries too long or make them too short. In my personal experience, anything under 5 lines should be more than enough. I know that a lot of you might be facing this very particular issue, that is, what exactly should I write in my summary? What does the recruiter want to see? Good for you, I have a very simple and basic trick that will help you decide exactly the same. Keep in mind these 3 things while you write your summary. You need to mention what have you done, what happened or what was the result, and the third thing is what are you looking for. Let us understand this with an example. Professional with 1 year of experience in educational sales. This is your what have you done. I have been primarily responsible for end-to-end sales from lead generation to closure, generating over 20 lakhs of annual revenue. This is what happened. I am looking to work as a team leader with dynamic organization which offers me an opportunity to grow. This is what are you looking for. If you are a fresher with no experience at all, you need to use your experience of organizing fests and events in college to cover up that lack of experience. So instead of saying that you sold this many courses and generated this much revenue, you can say that you helped sell these many tickets for a fest in college and generated this much revenue. So that's how you cover up your lack of experience. Moving on to the next section, which is past experience. Now the biggest mistake which applicants make over here is that they just mention that, oh, I worked here for this much amount of time. That is not enough, and please avoid doing that. I'm sure that you found the last 3 thing rule interesting. Well, I have another one for you. For every role that you mention in your past experience section, there should be 3 points. The first one is what did you do? The second one is how did you do? And the third one is what happened or what was the result. Take a look at this example. Responsible for selling educational courses to parents with kids in classes 8th through 12th. This is what did you do? Reached out to parents mostly through calls, meetings, and educated them about the product. This is how did you do? Generated 10 lakhs plus revenue. I was awarded the best salesperson for 2 quarters. This is what happened or what was the result. Now, if you have say 5 or 6 roles to write about, we don't recommend that you fill up like 2 or 3 pages just with your past experience section. Just restrict it to your last couple of roles. Let us move on to the next section, which is education. The first very important thing that you need to keep in mind here is that you don't need to mention educational qualifications dating back a decade. That means you don't need to mention your 10th and 12th marks unless and until you have really exceptional grades in those classes. If you have relevant certifications to the job, do not forget to mention them. Just your recent degree or recent couple of degrees are enough for this section. Another thing to keep in mind here is that when you mention your graduation marks, do not highlight them if they're not above say 60%. While college marks might not matter to the recruiter and for performing well in the job, it can give a bad impression right off the bat. Now let us move on to our next section, which is skills. Now this is an optional section and you should only resort to writing this when you feel like you don't have enough to mention on your resume. The most important thing here is that you need to keep it relevant to the job. For example, if you're an expert in Adobe Photoshop, it won't do you any good on this sales job resume. Similarly, bulking up this section with too many skills won't help either. Do not talk about generic skills such as hardworking, passionate. The recruiter will just think that you don't have anything to write on your resume. Now coming to the last section, which is your personal details. Now this is a simple one. You just need to mention three important things, which are your age, address, and languages. While mentioning languages, do not forget to mention your fluency in each of them. Well, those were your 6 sections. Now let us talk about two of the most common mistakes that most of the applicants make. The first one is font and styling. So I've seen that a lot of applicants just keep working on their resume content, but when it comes to the styling of the document, they just completely ignore it. They have random spacing between sections, each points, which just makes their resume look very weird even though the content is good. Always use a combination of bold, italic, and regular font styles to visually separate your sections. Last but not the least, do not use a font size greater than 14. Now take a look at this resume. It is perfectly styled and very pleasing to look at. If you want to download the template of this resume so that you can make yours pleasing as well, head over to the link in the description. The second point is one-pager resume. The reasons for a one-pager resume are clarity and ease of use. A single-pager resume always stands out. It's more approachable. The manager or the recruiter doesn't have to go through like a gigantic wall of words just to find your best achievements or points. So friends, that is everything you need to know about making a perfect resume. Again, download the Able Jobs app now to get help with your sales job interviews. Thank you for watching and all the best for your next application.